I didn't include it. It's true. It's bullshit. I didn't include it. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hey, Cam, what's up?
I've got a problem with a tier list. I'm doing so many.
What? How many are you doing?
Oh, I don't know. Don't even ask. What's new with you?
I'm just sitting up here thinking, when am I gonna be on a tier list?
Ha ha ha. Let's do one now, Mark. Hello everyone and welcome, this is Comodin Cam. Today we're going to be doing another Transformers tier list. This time it's Jetfire / Skyfire because it just makes things easier. And I am joined by my good friend, Markscaper.
Welcome, friend. You have access to data tracks of Alpha Trion.
So Mark, you wanted to do Jetfire for this tier list. Is there a particular reason why you wanted to do Jetfire?
Well, Grimlock was taken and Jetfire was my second favorite character, so...
Oh damn, I should have had you for that one.
Jetfire is a really cool character though, so he's got a lot of designs, so I think he'd be really good ranking choice.
And let's just talk about the tiers straight off the bat. We've got Eternal Glory, the best Jetfire. Then we have a good guy, where he's just a good guy. And then we have Air, where we kind of like it, but then we don't at the same time. And then Stuck in Ice, where that design, it's not the worst thing, but it just stay in ice. And then the worst one is the iconic line,
"Itchy, wretched, rusty, my ass!"
The greatest.
As a kid, I thought that was funny.
I still think it's funny.
Oh no. Let's start out with G1 Jetfire. I mean, I like this design. The head is always a bit of a hit and miss with me, but overall I actually like him. I like how big he is as well in the show. It's kind of just refreshing to have him, bigger compared to the other Autobots, which are kind of similar in height.
I like the original cartoon Jetfire. I think it fits the character. It's character design, so the character is part of the design. I think as being he gives off the vibe of being a big, imposing character. He feels like he could be also a scientist type of character as well. I think they got a good mix of both. I think it goes into good guy. I think it's not quite the best version of this design, but I think it's a good design.
For Generation 1, it's a refreshing look compared to the other Autobots. Yes, he was a Decepticon first, but this design, as soon as you see it, it does spark an Autobot feel.
He's the Autobots version of Astrotrain. I think it's reflected in this design,
Alright, let's actually talk about the original design of Jetfire / Skyfire.
I actually really like the Valkyrie design, the original design. I don't think it would have fit the cartoon version. It would have fit the comics version, based on that backstory, because he was created as a Decepticon weapon. I also really like the version they use in the commercial. He looks really badass, kind of like he's a big super weapon.
I love the helmet. I think the helmet's a really good design, though it doesn't really match the personality of Jetfire in the cartoon, which is why I'm kind of glad they changed it. This is more of a badass looking robot and nothing really to Jetfire.
This looks like his badass older brother.
Yeah, it does. As far as this design itself, I actually personally put it in Eternal Glory. I really like it. It's just a different character from the cartoon version.
Next up we have a Marvel Comics Jetfire. I don't really like the colours in this one. I think some of them are a bit misplaced. I don't like the red eyes especially. It's just kind of bleh to me.
I think for me it's again the character. It doesn't fit the version of the character in the comics. I think the colors as it is, I think they are a bit plain. It's more sparse, the red and the black and all that. So as far as the color scheme and as a variant of the cartoon version, I just don't think it fits the character from the comics.
I mean, in the comics he looks more evil. Like you said, he was built as a Decepticon, so it kind of gives that vibe a bit more. But the cartoon version, you can just kind of see him more as a good guy.
It fits what they were going for in some ways, but I think it doesn't fit it all the way.
I think I'll put it in F then, because it's kind of a balance really.
Yeah, I think it's an design.
Next up, we have Generation 2 Jetfire. I mean, this guy just looks like a regular Decepticon trooper.
It looks like the Decepticons in War for Cybertron video game. They have that same like face. As like a design in itself, it's alright. Like I don't think it's bad or anything. You know, I think it'd be a cool toy, you know?
I think this should be stuck in ice then.
Yeah, I guess it should go into stuck in ice.
Alright, so the next one, which, well, to be fair, I would say it stays in ice as well, but every time I come across these things, I just hate them.
I mean, I think you're being too kind by saying it should be stuck in ice. I think it should be in the rusted, wretched ass section.
Next up, we have Henky Penky Autobot Skyfire, whatever. However you want to say it. I mean, I like his head, actually, in this one. His head looks really cool.
Henky, I think, is how you say it. I mean, the Henkai version is basically the classics version of the character. As far as the design, I really like it. I think the Henkai Classics version looks really good. It's a good mix of the two, because it also has like the helmet that comes on. It's like the Valkyrie helmet. I really liked this version of Jetfire. I think it combines the two in a cool way. I think the way they displayed this toy, you know, it makes it look a little tacky with all the guns out, but
the Jetfire colors on this, they just really pop. Like the red and white really mix well with each other. I think both of these probably go in Eternal Glory then, because this is a pretty good looking toy.
Yeah, I would put it in Eternal Glory.
Next up, we have the War Within Jetfire. A very interesting design on the chest. I like the chest an awful lot.
This design is really cool. Like, as far as like this alternate take on a Cybertronian Jetfire, I actually really like the way the jet like cockpit is like on his arm, and like the other side, I guess, is on his other arm. You know, I'm not too familiar with this design, but just looking at it right now, I like it a lot.
I'll put it in good guy, because there's also a titanium version of it with the mask, and I think it looks pretty cool. I like it reminds me of something from Wipeout, his jet mode. Let's move on to the actual Dreamwave Jetfire, which, to be fair, is not really too much to talk about, because in this particular shot I have him here, he just looks like the regular Generation 1 Jetfire, but just drawn a little bit more differently.
I mean, the head's a bit, well, like in this shot, the head's a little weird, but, oh, he has a mask too, so I think this is supposed to be like the classics version. You know, because of that, I would put it in Eternal Glory.
Another one that I think belongs in Eternal Glory, actually, is the War for Cybertron / Fall of Cybertron Jetfire. Just a brilliant way to interpret Generation 1 and give it a brand new, fresh look while still maintaining its roots to G1. Like, I just think this suits, especially as a Cybertronian design. Like, I love his jet mode.
Yeah, I really like his War for Cybertron counterpart. I also like his Fall of Cybertron counterpart even more.
Yeah, because they changed the colors a little bit, didn't they? Like, they added a bit more gold in some areas.
Yeah, they did. They proportioned him much better. Like, they made his arms bigger, I think. But, you know, these are Eternal Glory designs. I love the designs in it, and I love the Jetfire designs.
Alright, next up, we have one of my childhood favorites. We have the Armada Jetfire. Phenomenal. Like, it stands out to me so much, especially the head design. I think the head design is probably my favorite out of all the Jetfires, because I just think it pops really well, and it brings something new to the character, and you look at it and you can tell it's Jetfire. You know, to me anyway, like, I of course it's biased because I grew up with it, but this design has always stuck out of me as my toppest tier of all of the Armada designs. That next to Optimus Prime.
This is Eternal Glory all the way through. For all the reasons you said, really like the design. I like the shield on his arm. I like, you know, his giant, like, rocket gun. I love the way, like, those things on his back, his, like, boosters, like, fold up. It just makes him super imposing. I always like the character in the show.
I hope in the future we actually see this design kind of revitalized and brought back, because I think it's a very underrated design. It kind of just gets forgotten. But another one that I want to talk about that should be forgotten, but I just don't like, and it's not because I don't like the show, I just think they made him look so much weirder, is the Energon Jetfire. Like, the red, the way how it's placed, it kind of gives me Shattered Glass kind of vibes a little bit, and I don't know, the head's cool. I like the head a bit, but the rest of the body just looks, It's just how I feel with most of the Energon designs, though.
Does not look good because I don't think the toy is very good. I had the toy as a kid, and it's just weirdly proportioned, and because they use the CAD models of that toy, this comes off weirdly proportioned. It looks better depending on how you draw it, and I think that's just the same with all the Dreamwave designs. They look better than the actual show designs, like the Energon Dreamwave designs. Like Hotshot looks like much better. Optimus, even with his they make the dad bod Optimus work. It's more like a Frank Miller Batman, than it is just kind of this weird box with arms and legs. The animation is the biggest problem with the show.
I think it should just be stuck in ice, because there were things they could have done a little bit better, but I don't know. I think it's the animation that really does it for me. That doesn't sell me that much on this toy. We'll talk about the next design, which I think cleaned up Jetfire a bit more. The Cybertron Jetfire. I don't like the green. I think the green is the one thing I just don't like and I've never liked. But I think the design overall is not bad, even though I think it's a bit bulky in some areas where it didn't need to be. It looks really hard for him to move around. If those wings are going to get caught on something.
I really like the character in the show, but that's part of why I kind of am partial to the design. But yeah, he's definitely bulky. It's almost like they try to combine the Energon and the Armada versions, because he has the boosters in the back that go up, but he also has the same kind of head, and I really like the character. He's a fun character, even with his Nebulon accent. I like the design. It's an design to me.
Next up, we have Transformers Animated Jetfire. Now, I've got to admit, I've praised animated designs a lot, but this one, as a design, I like it, but it's just the name Jetfire. I just don't see it as the Jetfire design. I think the pilot head is a bit too on the nose, But, I mean, Jetfire or not, I've never been the biggest fan of this kind of look. I like Jetstorm a bit better, but Jetfire...
I have always, tried to distance it from, it's Jetfire. A lot of the characters in the show, there is a level of distance from the original for some of them. I think this design... I'm fine with it. It's an design. I see what they're going for. It's not my favorite, though.
Bulkhead and Barricade, they are great examples of designs that, weren't that great to begin with, but then they were revitalized and were a bit better. I just don't think this is the case with Jetfire. And what I'm also going to put on the rank as well is the original concept design for Jetfire. A bit more on the nose, but I like the fact that it's more different, but it's definitely more of a Pixar kind of style, and I don't actually look at this and see it as a Transformer.
They are very Pixar... Or rather, they're more like that movie Robots. That was I don't know if you remember. Yeah, they're like that,
I think they should be stuck in ice, though, because I feel like they needed more work to be done.
I feel like stuck in ice might be a bit too harsh, but,
Me harsh? Never.
If you divorce them from the original, I think they're fine. I think it's just now what the other versions of this character look like. So I think it's an but, I guess we could split the difference and just say it's stuck half in ice, partially refrigerated.
I think I'll just change the tier list to that now. I'll just put partially refrigerated.
Yeah.
Alright, next up we got Jetfire from the Transformers Cyberverse show. Now, I love the 2D art. I feel like Cyberverse should have always been 2D. I'm okay with 3D in the show because I think the show really worked out well, anyway. But I gotta admit, I love this design a lot. I like the detailing on this. I think this really pops. It's definitely Jetfire, and I like how Cyberverse has interpreted that.
I agree. It looks better in 2D. I think Cyberverse's designs would have looked better in 2D, but I think the 3D animation, they did a lot with it that I thought, okay, you actually made this work in 3D. There's almost this kind of Gundam-y aesthetic to his legs, and I think they just updated him really well for the Cyberverse show. I honestly would put it in Eternal Glory. I think it's a really good design.
Alright, next up is a design that I think is pretty basic, pretty straightforward. I prefer the helmet version, but this is Jetfire from the War for Cybertron Netflix trilogy. I mean, it's fine, it's okay.
They did a Valkyrie version of the toy, which I think just suits a lot better, to be honest.
As far as this design, I think, as I said before, the character in the show does not fit this design. It actually would have fit the second design, like the box art design, way more, because he's like this leader of the Seekers. He's supposed to be big and imposing. This guy doesn't really feel big and imposing in the show. I think would work better if he had that helmeted version. It wouldn't have fixed the writing, but it would have made it more believable that he acted a certain way. It would have made him feel more like he's like this goon or something for the Decepticons that change sides. I kind of have a little bit of annoyance when I see the War for Cybertron Jetfire.
You know what's funny? I actually forgot that he died. I actually forgot about that.
They had potential with that arc, and then they kind of like ruined it, you know. I think the show version goes into but I think the box art version goes into good guy.
It would have been refreshing for him to actually have used the box art version, because I feel like it would have brought more. Because yeah, War for Cybertron Trilogy is very homage to Generation 1, but I felt like at the same time they could have done things differently to make it its own show instead of just a G1 looking.
Yeah.
We've got Jetfire here from the Robots in Disguise comic. I think this looks fantastic. I love the way how it's drawn, and I love the back of him as well, and the helmet really works in this.
For the most part, I think IDW designs, especially IDW's original designs, and I think this is a modified version of, I don't remember what line he came in, like one of the like Prime Wars things, but they modified that design and they made it look this badass, and I really like it. This is an Eternal Glory design, absolutely.
What it takes from is the Generation's leader, Jetfire. Because I think if you look at these both side by side, they're pretty much identical, with a few things different, like the chest.
Oh yeah, definitely. Both of them Eternal Glory. I really like this design.
Alright, let's talk about something that I don't think is Eternal Glory. It is the Shattered Glass Jetfire. Don't get me wrong, for an evil Jetfire, it's alright.
I think the color scheme is alright, but it's not remarkable really all that much as well.
Yeah, I'll just put it in air, because I don't think it really does anything appealing or anything kind of brand new when it comes to the colours, because like, yeah, we get it, it's a Decepticon now. It's
Yeah.
purple. Aren't most of them. Clearly the best Jetfire to ever grace the silver screen. It is the Revenge of the Fallen Jetfire. Now, I don't want to hate on it too badly. I think it all comes down to the Hunchback kind of feel. I'm not a big fan of that. I think it's a bit too on the nose that he's old. I get it, he's an old Transformer, but I think the Hunchback, and especially the Cane, I think it's just like, okay.
I actually like the design.
Oh, we're gonna have a fight.
A lot of the live action designs are like, I think the thing is like, oh, they're so realistic. I tend to see that they all have like this caricatured look to them. Like if you were to like look at them, they look like cartoon characters more than the original versions do. I think I just like the character, and I find him funny, not just because he farts out a parachute, but because I don't know, and maybe it's because I played way too much of the Revenge of the Fallen game. He's not the wretched rust in my ass character in the video game. He's like a wise old man in the video game. I think I have a lot of positive memories with him.
Yeah.
I like the old man aesthetic. I think his introduction is really fun. No, he killed Scorponok and Mixmaster. So he's a bit of a badass.
Like, it was cool to see this design in action, because it was just kind of like, oh, he can't really do anything. All he does is just fart parachutes. But when you actually see him in action, it was kind of nice to see that. I don't want to knock the design too much. Like, I've never thought of it as a Jetfire design. While I do appreciate the kind of caricature type of him being an old man, and the design shows it, which can be refreshing. But at the same time, I think it's a bit too on the nose as an old man stereotype. But, I mean, first of all, I love the plane. The plane of this design is amazing. It's one of the best planes, because I love that plane so much. I think it deserved a more of a badass looking type of feel to it. But still, nonetheless, I don't want to say it's a worse Michael Bay design.
I would definitely love to see the SR-71 Blackbird like in like a proper badass design, like a younger version of this Jetfire.
I think it was in one of our gameplay episodes where I did Optimus Prime, like an image of Optimus Prime in jet form, and I just had Jetfire's face on Optimus Prime's crotch, because that's where that part went.
Oh my god.
I'm going to give you a bonus, and because this means so much to you, I'm going to put it in good guy.
Yeah.
We'll go in good guy.
Good guy.
But this next design, oh, this is a funny looking one. This design, it looks like he's literally saying, "Freeze, punk."
I think this goes into eternal glory. What are you talking about?
Who kid is going to play with this and go, "Yeah, this is fun. It looks like a crab, actually."
It looks like a drone. Like it's like one of these Decepticon drones that you would fight before you get to like the main boss.
Yeah. I feel like this is something I'd definitely stamp on. And following on to that, we have a hybrid now. We have Legends class Jetfire, but to be honest, I just think of this as Transmute, from Beast Wars.
Yeah, Transmutate. I mean, it's a Legends toy, so I don't expect amazing articulation, although some of them are pretty good.
I just don't get the blue vibes. I don't know where the blue came from. It's like they just lost, they just can't be asked to paint. I think this belongs in my arse. Not actually, because that would be painful, but
yeah, no. You don't want that.
Another Legends class, but more in tune to G2, actually. But, I don't know, I mean, it's just... Do I see this as Jetfire? Not really. The paint helps, but it just looks like an Autobot trooper.
Yeah, I mean, I think this belongs in Stuck in Ice. It's not horrible. If I got this toy, I wouldn't be like, oh my god,
It's simple. It's simple enough. Let's talk about some video games now. Back to video games, we have Earth Wars Jetfire. I mean, I actually kind of like how this looks. I like the wings. I think the wings actually look really cool. The way how they're kind of just layered there.
It's essentially that Generations toy you showed earlier, the one same with the IDW. It's like that, but more blocky. So I think this is a good guy design, because I think there are some parts of it that I wish were a little bit more rounded. Like the arms, I definitely think could have been a little bit more rounded, but it's not a bad design by any means.
Alright, next up we have Earth Wars Cybertron Jetfire. So this is just him basically inspired from the War for Cybertron / For Cybertron games. Not actually bad. I like the wings, actually. The way how they are a bit more kind of sharper than the original War for Cybertron / For Cybertron design.
I really like the way the wings on his robot mode and his jet mode look. So yeah, definitely a good guy design.
I'm going to talk about these two simultaneously because they're pretty much identical, but obviously the game graphics will help it better. We have the comics version of Jetfire, and then we have the Forge to Fight Jetfire. Very similar in design. There's a few things obviously tweaked.
This is the IDW design that was based on the Classics version. This is basically that version as in the comics. And to me, the IDW one, Eternal Glory, I think the character's really interesting, but I also think this design itself though is really badass. I think Jetfire generally just has a really cool design in the IDW comics throughout, but I know that they had one where he had the movie-esque faces, and I still think he looked okay there, but this looks great.
The only thing I would knock though with the Forge to Fight version is actually the jet mode itself. It looks too skinny compared to the design that's kind of blocky looking. When it comes to the actual jet mode, the jet mode looks very thin.
I don't even think that they transform into the same thing, because look at his cockpit on his chest there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I don't think that he actually transforms into that.
I mean, that's apparently what he does. So it's where's he hiding all that fat? Jesus Christ, dude.
He works out every time he transforms.
I'll just put this in good guy then. Alright, next up we have Creo, but this is labeled as Jet Wash. I guess Hasbro had trademark issues at the time. Heck, look at this design. He looks really mean in this one. He looks like a mad grump.
I think he would be if you turned into that. This is Eternal Glory. That's what I'll say.
Eternal Glory. That's the first crew I think has gone up on a higher tier.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about the one from the Optimus Prime comic. I like the way how this is drawn especially. The head looks really cool.
I really like the Optimus Prime comic style. Like, they have some really great artists.
I can imagine this is going in Eternal Glory.
Eternal Glory for me.
Well, let's talk about another Jetfire design, which, to be fair, caught me off guard at first, because I was like, wait, this design? I was like, okay. This is from Transformers Volume 1, from Things Fall Apart.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about earlier with, like, the movie-esque designs.
Looks like Gundam. Looks like something from Gundam or something.
This is an ad design for me. I'm not a big fan of this era of comics. I don't like the writing, personally. The writer, I don't think, really understood how to write Transformers, as he admitted himself. He didn't know how to write them.
I like the chest area. That's the only thing I kind of like. But other than that, I think everything, it's too complicated. Like, everything's a bit too all over the place. Doesn't kind of feel like a Transformers design, to be fair.
It doesn't feel like Jetfire to me.
No.
It feels like, I don't know, Astro Train, or like, it kind of also gives me the vibe of the Stealth Bomber Megatron. Yeah, I would put this in an eh. It's not if I were to see this, I wouldn't say it's horrible, but it's not my favorite Jetfire design by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, let's talk about a design that definitely looks like Jetfire. I mean, look at this little dude. This is BotCon Shattered Glass Jetfire. I mean, he just looks like he's about to have a tantrum. He doesn't really look that scary.
This guy's gotta be stuck in ice.
Yeah. Sorry, dude. I mean, maybe when you've grown up.
He needs to cool off a bit,
Next up, we have Transformers Cyber Battalion Jetfire. I mean, it's alright. It's kind of cool. It's definitely better than anything Legends has produced.
Yeah, I mean, this is a classic, a classic stuck in ice design. Like, this is like a fine toy, if you had it, but I wouldn't say oh, this is a good design or anything,
Next up, we have Bot Shots Jetfire. I just don't like the concept of these bot shots. I don't know. The wheels on a jet, I get there are wheels on a jet, that's when it's landing, but this is just, it looks like a morphed car, car jet. I don't like it.
It kind of reminds me of Skylinks a bit, the way he has the bottom half.
Yeah, it does.
This obviously can go up someone's wretched rusty ass, so yeah.
It might do better up there, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's like what's it called? Like a jackass prank. Like, what are they going to shove up their ass next? And then this is what they find.
They have what is it, a cannon that shoots it out.
Yeah. We have the G1 Awakening game. This is a mobile game Jetfire. I mean, heck, and it's a blocky little dude.
I don't know. If you showed me that, I would think it's from the PS1 era. It's a stuck in ice design.
I don't know if you'll have this in your collection, but I wouldn't be surprised if you did. It's the Funko Pop Generation 1 Jetfire with its original head.
I don't have any Funko Pops, but this is I think the least terrifying one I've ever seen. Yeah, I was actually surprised when they showed this, because I think this was the first time you saw a straight Valkyrie design. This obviously needs to be preserved, so we gotta put it stuck in ice,
We have Jetfire from one of the Legends card games. I believe this design is similar, though.
Now that I'm looking at it, I thought it was going to be the Classics design, but the back cannons are together in the G1 version. I think it's a fine good guy design.
We really put in a lot of effort when it comes to these card games. Alright, so I make the same joke every time when I talk about one of these. We have Hero Masher's Jetfire, and yes, I would love to mash this into oblivion.
It's weird, because this is basically that other design that the Generations design we were talking about, but it looks like he has been actually melted.
I will admit, though, they have actually added more lining detail. There are details on it, pretty cool, but they just haven't colored it in or marked it. No, actually, no, this doesn't belong in someone's arse, because that, God knows, you're probably mashing it. I don't want to get into the details. This is too graphic now. Next up, I want to talk about these cute little things. I think they're all adorable for the most part. It's just Q, the Q Jetfire.
I mean, you say cute.
You want to stomp it.
I mean, it's everything is fine except for the face. The face, the eyes look so like they look like they want to murder. Like those are Chucky eyes to me. Like those are Chucky eyes.
Well, just so he doesn't kill you, then I think he should stay in ice.
Yeah. Okay. We'll put him in ice. You know.
All right. Next up, we have K-Baya Jetfire. A very weird looking one, to be fair. Like I look at this and I go, huh. There's a lot more blue.
Maybe you could put it in. It's like somewhere in partially refrigerated. We can add this to the partially refrigerated section.
This is another variation of Jetfire from the movies. Oh no, he looks frozen. He's stuck in ice. He's like, please help me. This isn't, something went wrong.
Imagine if you saw this, like you saw the plane fly by and you saw that. You'd just be like, what the fuck is going on? It's like the worst version of that scene in Bumblebee when Charlie climbs under Bumblebee's like car mode and he sees the face.
Imagine if that's what she saw instead. Like when it comes to Jetfire, that's what we saw and he's like, hey up, pal. Alright, let's talk about some fan arts now, because I like to appreciate some fan arts out there that a lot of people really love, and I wish some of these fan arts would be adapted into actual Transformers media. I'm going to start off with kind of an iconic looking Jetfire fan art done by C Raptor. I love the shuttle rocket kind of idea. It's like Armada, harken back to that.
I like the shuttle. I like how they kind of incorporated that and kind of a best of almost every world in this design, you know?
Alright, next design is actually from DC Josh. Animated Jetfire. I wish we actually saw... This is what I was talking about. This is something I would love to have seen in animated. I think he just designs it so well, but he keeps it in the style of, you know, Derek J. Wyatt. I really like it. I think the wings are probably a bit too big, but I think it just kind of fits in with the animated aesthetic a little bit.
I really like this design. To me, this is an Eternal Glory design. Like, I love Josh Bertram's art in general. He's just a really good artist. I really liked his Beast Wars art, and I think he's really good at, you know, capturing his own vibe, but also like the animated vibe. It like harkens to it, but it's got its own aesthetic. It's kind of like a mix between animated and like I think it's Jeff Senior who did some of the Marvel comic stuff that I really like, some of the art towards the end. It would have been cool if like Sentinel or like whatever said like, hey, we developed a new flying Autobot and this is what they got, and this big like Jetfire came out.
Alright, next up we have an iconic looking movie Jetfire design which has been around for years now. I believe this artist's name is actually Jolin Jester, JJZ. I mean, this has been floating around, I think, since the movie actually began production. You know, people thought this was real concept art. This is just a fan interpretation. I mean, the one thing I'd knock it off is probably the feet. I think it's too on the nose of being like Optimus Primed. But I think the movie design, this is what I was talking about when it comes to the Blackbird design. I would have loved to have seen it kind of transform into this, kind of a more of a badass looking kind of vibe.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think like, you know, it could be cleaned up a bit. I don't hate this design. You know, I vibe with it. I do think that it's a bit all over the place. You know, I definitely think for a fan art thing, I do remember seeing this around, and I thought this was real when I saw this. I was like, oh, wow, this is what he's going to look like. But, you know, that's not, we ended up getting something much, much better. So, like, you know, yeah, I'm just kidding. But, like, yeah, this is I really like this. This is a lot of great work, you know.
Now, we never got Jetfire in Transformers Prime, but we have an interpretation of what he could have looked like in Prime by Nightspin FMT. I gotta admit, this design is absolutely fantastic. This was a last-minute design that I found, and I was like, this fits in with the Prime style so well, and it mixes in other elements, especially from the IDW kind of designs, and I just think this looks fantastic. Like, I think he does such a great job, and the head as well fits in great with the Prime style.
I definitely can see this in Transformers Prime. Definitely would have loved to see this interpretation of the character. It's a really good looking Prime design.
I think it would have been a good mix of variation when it comes to the Prime characters. You know, we have a character that's like, you know, like Jetfire, like the color scheme of it would have stood out.
Definitely would have loved to see him in the show.
Yeah, I think this belongs in Eternal Glory. Well, there we have it, guys. They are all the Jetfire/Skyfire designs ranked from worst to best. So we got a lot in Eternal Glory. What would be your all-time favorite Jetfire? What is the one design that you love the most?
The IDW design that was like the classics one, that design to me is like my favorite. I just really like the design of that character that's like in Stormbringer. It's like the second arc IDW ever did.
I think for me, it's just got to be the Armada Jetfire. Like, I yearn to see that design again. I hope it gets a figure in the future. I just love it so much. There's actually an artist called Destron23. He did an animated version of it, and it's just the head, and I just want to see the rest of the body. I hope one day he does it all. Like, I want to see the full design, because I think the Armada design works really well with this, and I just think it will work in other Transformers stuff as well.
That'll go in Eternal Glory, of course, even though it's just a head. Well, there we have it, guys. There are all the Jetfire / Skyfire designs ranked from worst to best. Once again, thank you to Markscaper for joining me for this tier list. I hope you've enjoyed this.
Yeah, no, this was a lot of fun, you know.
For more videos just like this, be sure to subscribe, click that notification bell to get all updates instantly. Be sure to subscribe to Markscaper's channel. He's got a lot of good videos. He puts a lot of effort into his videos, so definitely check him out.
Ahaha. Catch you later, Mark.
See you later.
I'm so happy I have you as my best friend, and I love Diamond Bot so much.
What?